Hey everybody, Rachel Teedy here with your 13 Now update, and we have been following the Albany Med lockdown now for the second day. The suspect, Dino Savoca, has been arrested, 61 years old, from Colony. And just a brief update of what we know so far. The hospital, Albany Med, went into lockdown at about 2:40 yesterday, and eventually police told us that it was contained to one room. We now know today that Savoca was in that room with his 97-year-old mother. He had barricaded the door, trying to prevent them from getting inside. He was concerned about his 97-year-old mother, who was in the room with him. Eventually, police told us at a press conference yesterday they used a flashbang. They breached through the door and arrested Savoca. And then today we have been learning more about who he is. We spoke to neighbors, and in doing so, Tessa Bentulan was on the scene in his neighborhood. And so, Tessa, talk to us about what you heard from neighbors today and what they had to say.
Yeah, Rachel. So we were in Colony today, not too far away from Albany Med. I would say about 15 minutes or so from where he lives. So he lives in a trailer park called Two All Avenue. That's a trailer park, and it's called Two All Avenue Trailer Park. And we spoke to a couple neighbors. Some of them came up to us. Some of them even called our newsroom, and then we spoke to them afterwards. And both of the neighbors that went on the record with me said, to say it nicely, they said he's off his rocker, he's an oddball, a bit of a loner. One woman even told us that she doesn't really like to speak to him so much because he makes her nervous, so she kind of stays away from him. So overall, unfortunately, there was a lot of negative things said about Savoca. And we also were told that he was living there for about 30 years from the neighbors. And those two neighbors we spoke to both lived there for over a decade now. One of them living there 15 years, one living there closer to 18 years. So they really know this neighborhood. They know him. They say that Savoca lived with his mother in the trailer park in this home. I don't know for how long. But people are wondering as well, just a side note here, that they're asking us if we have any photos of him. No photo or mugshot has been released of Savoca, so we don't have anything for you at this time, unfortunately. But one of the neighbors, she gave a really interesting interview of, as soon as she saw yesterday that it was through context clues, she figured out, okay, it's through at Albany Med. She knew that it was a 97-year-old woman, and that's the same details that she knows about Savoca's mother. And she told us, the neighbor, yep, it has to be Dino Savoca because it couldn't be anyone else. And in one of the interviews we did with her, she said that he tried to coax some of his neighbors into getting her out of Albany Med illegally, trying to sneak her out of there. And they all said, there's no way that we're going to do that for you. So it was very interesting to hear from the neighbors and kind of give a repertoire of to who this man is.
Absolutely. And the off his rocker part, I mean, that was a direct quote. That's what she said.
Quote, not a paraphrase. That's a direct quote. And she said, that's putting it nicely.
Right. Crazy. And to clarify, too, we have a couple photos here. Yesterday, we were told that Savoca had a BB gun in his possession. We were told them by Albany police today that he also had that sawed-off shotgun that you're seeing on your screen right now. So initially, we did not know about the shotgun until today. That was added by police. And coming up later tonight, Tessa's, we're going to show your interview with police asking, why didn't we know about this sooner? Yeah. Why wasn't this released? So that's
a lot of people wondering, more about transparency from last night. They want more transparency. We asked him that, and he gives us his answer as to that.
Yes. So watch at 9 o'clock. But also I want to ask you, Tessa, I mean, you have been covering this now for 2 days, crazy amount of live shots. I think yes. 20 alone, I think is what you said yesterday. What is this like for you? I mean, major breaking news situations like this don't happen super often here. So what was this like for you yesterday and today?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been crazy just overall as a reporter working in the capital region, not only the Albany Med lockdown story from yesterday and continuing on it today. Last week, we had the Old Doan Stewart School, the fire that broke out on Thursday. We all covered it on Friday. So just for all reporters in the capital region, it's been a really hectic time for us. I mean, this is what we're meant to do, right? This is why we get hired is to tell your stories, but especially when it's breaking news, that is what we're good at, is running and gunning, getting everything you need to know when we're on the ground there. As for this story specifically, I've never done something of the sense that it broke late like that, like right before our newscast. And for the 2.5 hours that we were on yesterday from 4 p.m. to 6:30 p.m., I mean, you were in the show, Rachel. You were just throwing it back out to me, to Tia Penix, as well as Stella Porter, who are all on the ground with me. I mean, you're just kind of going from the way that I was taught and from, just working in this industry for a couple of years now, just explaining everything that I see. You get this huge adrenaline rush while you're doing these things because you're just, there's so much going on. There's so much you can talk about. And the hardest part, but the most fulfilling part was talking to the people who are inside, especially that man that, oh, I really felt for him. When he was waiting for his wife outside, who was working inside Albany Med and was in that lockdown, he was so nervous that he couldn't get to her, and she was sporadically texting him, but not getting back to him right away. And the first thing he heard from her was, I'm in a lockdown. We have kids together, so make sure that you grab the kids from school. That's a really scary to hear from your spouse. And so he grabbed the kids, then he raced over to Albany Med, and talking to him. And then when I saw them reunite, it just made me so happy. There was at least a happy moment throughout this whole hectic day that we were going through.
Yes, absolutely. And thankful that it ended, how it did. No injuries reported, no deaths reported. It could have been a lot worse. And so thank goodness that it ended how it did.
Yeah, exactly. No injuries, none of the staff hurt. From what we're told from Albany Med, they were very good at communicating with them, sending them messages through their phones, text messages, as well as phone calls, even tweeting the information that the staffers needed to know, and putting information over the loudspeaker inside of Albany Med. So a lot of communications from them. And what is interesting today, too, is that, we followed up by going to his home because police told us, Albany police and their detectives went and got that search warrant to go to the home. And the fact that they got there and there was what they thought maybe like a gas leak is that he turned the stove on intentionally, is what we're told, and kept a candle burning. Now, we asked Steve Smith if this was some sort of suicide attempt, but they're still looking into that. So we can't confirm any of that if it was some sort of suicide. So they're still looking at that. But, we spoke to one of the fire chiefs who also responded to the home after police did for their search warrant. And from what the fire chief told me, he's like, thank goodness police got there when they did, because if not, if we waited maybe a couple hours or we found out this morning or something, it could have been a lot worse.
Right. Yeah, it could have been an explosion in the trailer park.
Exactly. And he said, this is a small trailer park. It's not that big. From what I saw, guesstimated, it was about 20, 25 people who live in homes there.
Still, that I wonder.
It's a
too,
lot. Still, it's small, but 25 people, you don't want anyone getting hurt.
No, of course not. Very interesting. It'll be interesting to see what police and investigators are able to figure out moving now into the rest of the week and the weeks after. This story's not done yet.
No, it's not. Even today, the information that we got about just the search warrant and more about who he is, Stella Porter got court documents that kind of detail a little bit more of what happened in the room that he barricaded himself in with his mother. So every day it's like more and more keeps coming out. And I'm sure, like you said, it's not finished here.
Not finished yet. All right. Well, Tessa, thank you for speaking to
Thanks,
us
Rachel.
a little more in depth. And like Tessa said, coming up live at 9 o'clock and at 11 o'clock, we're going to have in-depth information, team coverage about what is happening now in the investigation regarding the lockdown at Albany Med. So make sure you join us for that. We'll see you then.